Right friends, welcome back to 38th week. This is capsule number 5, News in Focus. We are going to discuss 3 issues. The first issue is India raises 16 spots in Global Competitiveness Index. First of all, what is it all about? It is all about the competitiveness of the economies. Unless the economies are competitive, they cannot survive in the present day era of globalization. That is most important point. And who releases this Global Competitiveness Index? This is released by World Economic Forum. You may ask, where is the World Economic Forum? World Economic Forum is based in Cologne, Switzerland, and it is a non-governmental organization started by Klaus Schwab in the year 1971, and it releases a Global Competitiveness Index. Please don't forget about certain things. Ease of Doing Business Index is released by World Bank. World Economic Outlook and Global Financial Stability Report are released by International Monetary Fund. These things are very important. And this Global Competitiveness Index is released by the World Economic Forum, the non-governmental organization. And another important aspect is India is continuously raising 16 points last year, 16 points this year. If you go back 2 years, our rank was 71 and we increased to 55 last year, and now we came up to 39. If you look at BRICS countries, we are just behind China only, and this is a magnificent achievement if you look at the Global Competitiveness Index is concerned. And this year 138 economies are ranked, and for 8th consecutive year Switzerland topped the list, and for this year the second place Singapore, third place is United States of America. And basically country-wise data are compared for 12 categories. I have given some of the categories here. Please look into this: infrastructure, institutional development, macroeconomic environment, like what is fiscal deficit, what is the current account deficit. Those are the macroeconomic parameters. At the same time, what about health and primary education? Then how financial markets are there? Then technological readiness, technologically whether the country is ready to embrace advanced technologies or not, and market size, then business sophistication, innovation. So these are the elements looked at in Global Competitiveness Index. And if you look at subsectors where India ranked high, market size, our rank is 3 naturally, because it has got more than 120 crores of population. That's why market size is more. Innovation, our rank is 29. Then business sophistication 35. Financial markets well developed with 38th rank. So these are the subsectors where we ranked quite high. And if you look at the problematic factors for doing business in India, one is the tax regulation. Still it is a problem. Government is trying to do many things, but still tax regulation is the problem. Then corruption is one of the biggest problems in our country. Poor public health, this is the biggest problem we are facing. Then inflation, of course the problem with regard to inflation is reducing nowadays. So these are the problematic factors as enunciated by the World Economic Forum while giving 39th rank to India. And finally the comment is the achievement of increase of 16 places this year, 16 places last year is really appreciable. This is one important point. Second point is raise of 16 places this year is the highest for any economy. Then India is also the second most competitive economy. If you look at BRICS nations, China is heading with the 28th position, we are at 39th position. And the good sign for India is competitiveness has improved in areas like the development of financial markets, business sophistication and innovation. Right friends, let us hope further improvement when we look at Global Competitiveness Index in the year 2017. And don't forget, World Economic Forum is headquartered in Cologne, Switzerland. It is non-government organization. So, right friends, by leaving this item here, let us move on to the second item. Asylum to Balochistan leader. Behram Bugti. And you may ask, what is meant by asylum? Asylum is nothing but protection or safety given by a government to the people who have been forced to leave their own countries because of war or because of safety. If some person is not feeling safe in his own country, he may be forced to leave because of human rights violations, because of civil war, because of the excesses committed by the army people. Sometimes people may not be able to stay in their countries, and under those circumstances they are forced to leave the country and they reach some other country and apply for asylum. So that is asylum actually. And now Behram Bugti is the president and founder of a Baloch Republican Party, and at the same time he is the grandson of Nawab Akbar Bugti, who was killed by the Pakistani army in 2006. Now he wants asylum and he is at present staying in Switzerland, and he sought political asylum in India. And please look into this slide. This is a Balochistan region of Pakistan. There are news reports that human rights are being violated in Balochistan region of Pakistan. That's why some people felt that it is not safe to stay in Balochistan region of Pakistan, and Behram Bugti is one such person who left the country, and at present he is staying in Switzerland, and he sought political asylum in India, and it has been referred to the security agencies for vetting, and final decision will be taken by the Union Cabinet. He applied for asylum in Indian consulate in Geneva, and the application was subsequently forwarded to the Ministry of External Affairs in India, and now the application was sent to Home Ministry, and Union Cabinet headed by the Prime Minister will take final decision. And what about India's policy? India does not have a comprehensive asylum policy, and as per the United Nations estimates, there are at least 6,480 asylum seekers in India, and the government does not have any statistics, and even Home Ministry is also not clear about how to go ahead. And now the Home Ministry is looking at the records with regard to Dalai Lama. Dalai Lama was granted asylum in the year 1959, and now government is looking at those records. And at the same time, India is also not a signatory to United Nations Refugee Convention on the status of the refugees. And this convention, along with 1967 protocol, stipulates the rights and services that host states must provide refugees. Refugees will have some rights. What are those rights? And what is the procedure to be followed by the host country? These are all the issues enlisted in 1951 UN Refugee Convention on the status of the refugees, but India is not a signatory to it, and overall India is now looking at what to do, right? So the need of the hour is to devise proper asylum policy in our country, right friends? By leaving the issue of Behram Bugti at this juncture, let us move on to the last issue of News in Focus. World trade growth at 1.7%, and in the month of April, world trade growth expected to be, that means in the month of April, World Trade Organization WTO assessed that the trade in the world is expected to be 2.8% this year, but now World Trade Organization revised it to 1.7%. There is huge difference. Initially, it is expected 2.8%, but now world trade growth is expected to be 1.7%. And the most interesting aspect is, this is for the first time in 15 years that international trade is expected to lag the growth of GDP, and overall the world economy is expected to grow this year somewhere between 2.5 to 3%. World GDP growth is expected to be 2.5% to 3%. And now world trade growth is expected to be just 1.7%. So the interesting point is, for the first time in 15 years, world trade growth is lagging GDP growth. Normally, trade growth is expected to be 1.5 times the GDP growth. And subsequent to 1990s, several years recorded trade growth at around 2 times that of world GDP growth. Subsequent to 1990s, when globalization has taken roots in several developing countries, the world trade growth was around 2 times that of world GDP growth. And in some years, it used to be 1.5 times. But unfortunately, this year, the world trade growth is expected to be just 1.7% when GDP is expected to grow at around 2.5 to 3%. Right? So, how do you infer this, or you can say what it signifies? All of you are familiar with the Brexit. Brexit is a somewhat signal for protectionism. What is protectionism? Opposite of globalization. Globalization is seamless movement of goods, services, trade, investment across various countries. Of course, with some limited protections to the domestic economies. But now it appears that globalization is being restricted across the world, and days of protectionism are just taking roots across the world. It clearly signals the beginning of protectionist measures as countries are trying to protect the jobs of their respective nationals. Then second thing is, almost all the countries are denying protectionist measures, but it is clearly evident that several countries are not in favor of more and more globalization because it is threatening domestic economies. And some countries are suffering because of jobless growth, and at the same time the disparity between haves and have-nots increased drastically in recent times after globalization. That is the most worrying point. The gap between haves and have-nots, that means the gap between rich and poor people, increased enormously in recent times. So that's why countries are not in favor of more and more globalization. The fourth point is, because of a fall in global oil prices, economies suffered badly, and Venezuela is one example. Then Russia is another example, and lower economic growth in China is also precipitating the problem. And finally, only time can say whether the forces of protectionism are being strengthened day by day or not. Right, friends? With this, let us conclude News in Focus. Please do join for Read Between the Lines. Have a nice day. Thank you.